Imagine a village. Close your eyes for a second, unless you're driving, in which case please keep them open.
Yeah, please do.
But in your mind's eye, I want you to picture a place that feels oddly familiar. It's hypothetical, sure, but in many ways, it's everywhere in India. You're standing on a dusty road. To your left, there's a bullock cart creaking along, moving at the speed of, well, a bullock, carrying a heavy load of jaggery. The wooden wheels are grinding against the dirt.
I can almost hear it.
But then, whoosh, to your right, a motorcycle zooms past, kicking up dust, followed by a tractor roaring down the lane, hauling a trailer full of wheat.
It's a striking image, isn't it? You have the ancient and the modern sharing the exact same, well, not even asphalt, probably a packed earth road.
Exactly. And you look at the houses. Some are sprawling brick mansions with cement plastering, looking solid, permanent, like they've been there for generations and will stay for generations more.
Right.
But just down the path, maybe tucked away in a corner of the village, there are small huts made of mud and straw, fragile against the monsoon.
It sounds like a scene from a Bollywood movie, or maybe a novel by Premchand. But what you're describing isn't fiction. It represents the economic heartbeat of rural India.
That's it?
It's a microcosm where tradition and modernity are constantly, jostling for space, and where immense production happens right alongside stark inequality.
You nailed it. And today, we aren't just telling a story for entertainment. We are decoding the economic engine of a nation. We are diving deep into NCERT Class 9 Economics, Chapter 1, The Story of Village Palampur.
This is a foundational text. I cannot stress this enough. It might seem simple, a cute story about a fictional village, but it is actually the blueprint for understanding production, the factors of production, and the deep-seated economic disparities that define the agrarian economy.
So it's not just for Class 9 students.
Oh, not at all. If you want to understand the Indian economy for general studies, if you want to write a coherent mains answer about rural distress or the Green Revolution, you start here. This is the bedrock.
Absolutely. Welcome to this special deep dive, brought to you by Simplified UPSC by PKP. I'm your host, and I am ready to untap the complexities of this chapter and hopefully make them stick in your brain forever.
And I'm here to help connect the dots, link these concepts to the bigger picture, and show you why Palampur matters for your exam preparation.
Before we unravel the economy of Palampur, I have a humble request for all you serious learners out there. If you find value in these deep dives, if they help you visualize the concepts better than a dry textbook, please hit that subscribe button.
It really does help with the YouTube retention, and that helps get this content to more learners who need it.
It's a small click for you, but it's a huge deal for us.
And if you are capable, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support is literally the fuel that keeps these deep dives coming. A massive shout out to our current supporters. You make this possible. We appreciate you more than we can say.
It allows us to do the research and bring you this level of detail. Don't forget to like this video and share your valuable comments below. We read them, and we love seeing the discussion. Also, for those scrambling for materials, we have free notes and practice previous year questions, or PYQs, available on our public Telegram channel.
And for the serious aspirants who want to streamline their prep, join our private Telegram library. You get access to all videos in this series at once, plus organized premium notes which include detailed summaries, extra PYQs, and model mains answers.
Just DM us on the public Telegram channel to join.
It's all there for you.
Okay, business aside, let's get to the roadmap. Today's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. We're going to cover the 4 factors of production, and we're going to really dissect them.
Yep.
We'll break down farming, looking at fixed land versus modern methods.
We'll also analyze the Green Revolution, looking at both the massive wins in yield and the environmental costs, which is a favorite topic for UPSC.
Always.
Then we'll shift gears to the non-farm activities, which are crucial for the future of the rural economy.
And throughout the discussion, we will link these concepts to actual UPSC PYQs found in the source material. We want to show you how a simple story about a village translates to high-level exam questions. So, are you ready to visit Palampur?
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. Let's start with the geography, or rather the connectivity. The book says Palampur isn't an isolated island.
No, it isn't. And that's the first thing the author wants you to know.
It's well connected. The text mentions it's just 3 kilometers away from a big village called Raganj, and further connected to a town called Shapur. Why does the author start with this? Why not start with the crops?
Because connectivity is the first economic indicator. An economy cannot thrive in isolation. The road connecting Palampur to Ranganj is described as an all-weather road.
All weather, that's a key term.
It's a huge term. That means trade can happen year-round. It's not just a dirt track that washes away in the monsoon. If you can't move your goods to a market, you don't have an economy, you just have subsistence. That road is the lifeline that turns farming into agriculture. Ah, that's a great distinction. And on that road, you see that visual spectrum I mentioned earlier. You have the traditional tongas and bullock carts, but you also have jeeps, tractors, and trucks. It's a logistical mix.
And that mix represents the transition phase of the Indian rural economy. You have the slow, low-capacity traditional transport moving alongside high-speed, high-capacity modern transport.
So it's like a snapshot of economic history all on one road.
Exactly. It tells us that the village is integrating with the broader economy. Those trucks aren't just driving for fun. They are taking surplus produce to the markets in Shopkeeping and bringing back manufactured goods. It's the flow of commerce.
Now, there's another infrastructure point that is absolutely critical here, and the text highlights it early on. Electricity. Most houses in Palampur have electric connections.
This is huge, and we need to pause here because urban listeners might take this for granted.
Right, we just assume the lights will turn on.
In a rural context, electricity isn't just about watching TV or lighting up the living room. It is a factor of production itself.
How so? Explain that. Think about irrigation. Before electricity, how did farmers get water from the ground? They used the Persian wheel.
The thing you see in old movies with the bullocks walking in a circle?
That's the one. It's this large wooden wheel with buckets pulled by bullocks. It's romantic to look at, but it's incredibly slow and labor-intensive. You can't water a large field that way.
And with electricity.
You get electric tube wells. You flip a switch, and the pump pulls groundwater up from deep aquifers continuously. This means you can irrigate much larger areas of land much faster, and critically, you can do it independently of the rainfall.
Ah, so you're not at the mercy of the monsoon anymore.
Not completely. This is what allowed Palampur to transform its agriculture. The text says the entire cultivated area of 200 hectares was irrigated. That is a dream statistic for many parts of India even today.
So electricity is the enabler.
Precisely. And it's not just farming. It powers small businesses, the computer center they mention, the sugarcane crushing machines we'll talk about later. It establishes Palampur as a fairly well-developed village. It represents the potential of rural India when the basic infrastructure roads, power, education, health is actually present.
Speaking of health and education, the village has 2 primary schools, 1 high school, a government primary health center, and a private dispensary.
Yeah.
So structurally, it's sound.
And on paper, it looks great.
But, and there's always a but, economics infrastructure doesn't mean equality. Let's talk about the people. The demographics of Palampur tell a very specific story about social stratification.
This is the inequality constraint. We have 450 families in total. Now, if this were a perfect socialist utopia, everyone would have the same house and the same land. But Palampur is realistic.
And reality is rarely equal.
Very rarely. Look at the breakdown. You have 80 upper caste families. That's less than 20% of the population.
Okay.
But they own the majority of the land in the village.
The majority of the land. That is a massive concentration of wealth.
It is. And their living conditions match that ownership. The text says their houses are quite large, made of brick with cement plastering. These are assets. They are durable.
Contrast that with the Dalits, the scheduled castes, SCs. They make up 1/3 of the population, so about 150 families. That's a significant chunk. But where do they live?
They live in one corner of the village. This phrasing is important.
It's very deliberate.
They are marginalized, quite literally pushed to the margin of the settlement and their houses. Mud and straw. These are not durable assets. A bad storm can destroy them. They require constant maintenance.
This spatial segregation is fascinating. It's not just about money. It's about physical space and vulnerability.
It's a key feature of the Indian rural landscape. This spatial and economic segregation sets the stage for everything else we are going to discuss. When we talk about access to resources later, remember this picture. The starting line is not the same for everyone in Palampur.
So the game is rigged from the start.
In many ways, yes. The 80 families start with land and capital. The 150 families start with nothing but their labor.
Okay, so we have the setting. We have the people. Now let's get into the core theory. The chapter uses this village to explain the organization of production.
Right. The fundamental goal of production is simple: to produce the goods and services that we want, whether it's wheat, a haircut, or a podcast, you are producing something.
It's all production.
But to do that, you need ingredients. In economics, we call these the factors of production, and there are 4 of them.
Let's walk through them one by one, using Palampur as our lab. Factor number 1, land.
This is the most basic requirement, but in economics, land is a broad term. It doesn't just mean the dirt you stand on.
Okay, what else does it include?
It encompasses all natural resources, water, forests, minerals. In the context of Palampur, land is the primary constraint because it is fixed. You can't just create more earth.
Right.
We will discuss this heavily in a moment, but just know that land is the stage upon which all other factors perform.
Got it. Sage is set.
Yeah.
Factor number 2, labor.
The people who do the work. Now, this is interesting because labor isn't a monolith. It's not just workers.
What do you mean?
Some production activities require highly educated workers. Think of a software engineer, or in Palampur's case, the teacher in the high school or the doctor in the dispensary. That's a linkage to human capital.
Ah, skilled labor.
Exactly. Other activities require manual strength, like the farm laborers plowing the fields under the hot sun. So labor varies by skill and physical requirement. And the cost of that labor varies accordingly, which, drives inequality.
Makes sense. Factor number 3 is where I think a lot of students get tripped up, and even I sometimes have to double-check the definitions. Physical capital.
The hardware of economics. It's the variety of inputs required at every stage during production.
The source material makes a crucial distinction here between fixed capital and working capital. Can you break that down in a way that's impossible to forget?
I'd love to. Imagine you are a farmer in Palampur. Let's call you Farmer Joe. You buy a tractor. That tractor costs a lot of money. But once you buy it, does it disappear after one harvest?
No, it sits in your shed. You use it for years and years.
Exactly. It spans many production cycles. Tools, machines, buildings, from a simple plow to a sophisticated generator. These are fixed capital. They are fixed in time. They are an investment that stays with you.
They depreciate, but slowly.
Right. They depreciate slowly.
Okay, so what is working capital?
Now, imagine Farmer Joe needs to actually grow something. He needs seeds, he needs fertilizers, and he needs cash to pay the electric bill for the tube well and to pay the daily wages of his laborers. Once he plants the seeds, can he use them again next year?
No, they become the plant. They're gone.
And the money he paid the laborers? Gone. The fertilizer. Absorbed by the soil. This is working capital. It includes raw materials and money in hand.
Oh, so it's working because it gets used up during the production process.
Precisely. You constantly need to replenish it. If you run out of fixed capital, you can't start. If you run out of working capital, you can't finish.
That's a great way to remember it. Fixed stays, working gets used up. Now, there is a 4th requirement, and it's arguably the most important one in the modern economy. Human capital.
This is the knowledge and enterprise. Think of it as the chef in the kitchen. You can have the best kitchen, fixed capital, the best ingredients, working capital and a bunch of assistants, labor. But if you don't have the chef, the person who knows the recipe and how to organize everyone, you don't get a meal. You get a mess.
So human capital is the binding agent, the recipe, the knowledge.
It is the knowledge that puts land, labor, and physical capital together to produce an output.
The source material actually references Chapter 2 here, People as Resource. It talks about how education and health create a virtuous cycle.
Yes, and this is critical for UPSC mains. Think of the example of Sakal versus Vilas from the text. Sakal gets education, his parents invest in his health, he learns computer programming.
And he gets a good job.
He gets a job in a private firm. His income rises, he pays taxes, he contributes to the economy. That's a virtuous cycle. Investment in human capital leads to higher productivity.
And Vilas.
Vilas is the tragic counterexample. He lacks education, he lacks health care, he suffers from arthritis. He is forced to do the same low-skilled fishing job his mother did. He is stuck in a low-income trap.
A vicious cycle.
Vicious cycle. He has the labor potential, but without the human capital investment, like education and health, that potential is never realized.
This connects beautifully to a UPSC previous year question found in our source stack. I'm looking at the 13CSP1.pdf document, question 92. This is a classic conceptual question.
Ah, yes. Let's dissect it.
The question asks, economic growth in country X will necessarily have to occur if...
And it gives 4 options. Option A, technical progress in the world.
Okay, let's rule that one out. Just because the world has technology doesn't mean country X adopts it?
Right. The world has AI, but if country X doesn't have electricity, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. What's next? Option B, population growth in X. More people means more workers.
More workers, sure, but also more mouths to feed. If you have population growth without an increase in jobs or productivity, you don't get economic growth, you get poverty, you get more people fighting for the same resources. This is actually a demographic burden unless you have capital to employ them.
Okay, so that's out. Option D is trade growth in the world.
Same as A, right. Just because the world is trading doesn't mean country X is benefiting.
Right. So we're left with C, capital formation in X.
And Palampur explains why this is the answer.
How so?
Think back to our tractor. When the farmers in Palampur save their money and buy a tractor or a thresher, they are engaging in capital formation. They are increasing their stock of fixed capital.
I see.
A tractor allows one man to do the work of 10. It increases productive capacity. Economic growth is fundamentally about increasing the capacity to produce goods and services. Capital formation is the direct mechanism for that.
So when you see a tractor in Palampur, don't just see a vehicle. See capital formation in action. See the engine of growth.
Precisely. And this is why the savings of the large farmers matter so much. They have the surplus to create capital. The poor do not.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, farming in Palampur. We established that land is fixed. The text says 75% of the working people in Palampur depend on farming. But since 1960, there's been no expansion in land area.
This is the Malthusian nightmare in a way. The population grows, but the land does not. They converted some wastelands to cultivable land back in the day, sure, but essentially the pie isn't getting any bigger.
So the question becomes,
the million-dollar question for Palampur and for India is, how do you grow more from the same land?
the text offers two main methods. The first one is multiple cropping. It sounds simple, but let's explain the mechanics.
Multiple cropping is the traditional method of efficiency. It means you don't let the land sit idle. In Palampur, they follow a very specific, tight calendar. It's like a relay race.
Let's look at that calendar. It starts with the rainy season, or Kharif. What are they growing?
Jowar and Bajra. Now, are the people eating Jowar and Bajra roti every night? Maybe some, but the text says these are primarily used as cattle feed.
Ah, so it's not for human consumption mostly.
Mostly not. This is a crucial linkage. The farming supports the dairy industry. The stocks are fed to the buffaloes.
Okay. Then comes the intermediate season, October to December.
They squeeze in a crop of potato. This is smart. Potatoes grow fast. It's a cash crop. They harvest it and sell it quickly before the main winter crop.
And then the winter season, or Rabi. This is the big one, wheat.
Wheat is the staple. It's the lifeblood. The family keeps what they need for consumption, filling their grain bins for the year, and the surplus is sold at the market in Riganj.
This connection to the market is vital.
It is. If they only grew enough to eat, it would be subsistence farming. But because they sell the surplus wheat, they are entering the market economy. They earn cash.
And there's also sugarcane, which is on the field for the whole year.
Right. Sugarcane takes a long time. They harvest it once a year, and importantly, they process it into jaggery, or gur, to sell to traders in Shopkeeping. So you see the complexity.
It's incredible.
A single farmer is juggling fodder, food grains, cash crops like potato, and industrial crops like sugarcane, all on the same plot of land. That is multiple cropping.
It's impressive. But Method A has a ceiling. You can only squeeze so many crops into a year. Method B is where the real explosion in production happened. Modern farming methods.
Or what we know as the Green Revolution. This is the shift that defines modern India. It started in the late 1960s. Before this, farmers used traditional seeds.
What were traditional seeds like?
They were low yield, but they were tough. They needed less irrigation. They could survive on natural rainfall. Farmers used cow dung as natural fertilizer. It was a low input, low output system. Sustainable, but it couldn't feed a booming population.
Enter the HYV seeds high-yielding varieties.
The game changer. These seeds were genetically selected to produce massive amounts of grain on a single stalk. But, and listen carefully to this, HYV seeds are a high-maintenance technology. They are divas.
Divas.
Yes, you can't just throw them in the ground and wait for rain. They are thirsty. They need plenty of water. If you rely on monsoon rain, they might fail. You need assured irrigation, those two bulbs we talked about.
Okay.
And they are hungry. They need specific chemical fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium to reach that potential. Because they are lush and dense, they attract pests, so you need chemical pesticides.
So it's a package deal. You
Yeah.
can't just buy the seed. You have to buy the chemicals and secure the water.
Exactly. It capitalizes agriculture. You need money to buy all these inputs, but the
Yeah.
results speak for themselves. The text gives a specific data point for Palampur. With traditional seeds, the wheat yield was 1,300 kilograms per hectare.
And with HYV seeds?
It shot up to 3,200 kilograms per hectare.
Wow.
That is more than double. That is nearly triple. That is a massive surplus.
That explains why India became self-sufficient in food grains. This surplus is what transformed the rural economy. Suddenly, farmers had much more wheat than they could eat.
They flooded the markets in Rayganj and Shahpur. It brought cash into the village. It created a boom. Farmers bought tractors. They built those brick houses we saw earlier. And this is the but that haunts modern agriculture. This progress came with a price tag.
The outline calls this the cost of progress. The text asks, will the land sustain?
This is the critical sustainability debate. The Green Revolution wasn't a free lunch. Scientific reports in the source material indicate that modern farming has overused the natural resource base. We treated the soil and water like infinite resources, but they aren't.
Two main issues are highlighted: loss of soil fertility and depletion of the water table. Let's break the chemistry down simply.
Okay. The soil fertility loss is due to the increased use of chemical fertilizers. These chemicals provide nutrients, yes, but they also kill off the bacteria and microorganisms in the soil, the natural workers that keep the soil porous and alive.
So you're killing the life in the soil.
You are. Over time, the soil becomes less productive. It becomes like an addict. You have to use more fertilizer next year just to get the same yield. It's a chemical treadmill.
And the water.
The tube wells. To feed those thirsty HYV seeds, farmers are pumping groundwater out faster than the rain can replenish it. Imagine a bank account where you withdraw $100 every day but only deposit $50.
Eventually, the account hits zero.
The water table is dropping. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's not coming back quickly.
The expert insight here is chilling. Environmental resources take years to build. Destroying them is a one-way street.
It is. This is a classic conflict seen in UPSC mains questions constantly. Development versus environment. Palampur shows us that while we solved the food security problem, which is development, we created an ecological problem, the environment.
And the challenge for the future.
And for you future administrators listening, is how to balance the two. How do we move to sustainable agriculture without starving the country?
That is the heavy question. But let's shift from the environment to the economy of the people. Section 4. Distribution of factors. We know the village is producing more wheat, but who gets the benefit? Does the rising tide lift all boats?
Spoiler alert, no. The distribution of land is starkly unequal. Remember those 450 families?
Yes.
Let's visualize the graph. At the bottom, you have 150 families, mostly Dalits, who are landless. They have 0 hectares. They are entirely dependent on selling their labor.
That's 1/3 of the village with no asset base. Then you have the middle group.
That's 240 families who cultivate small plots, less than 2 hectares. Now, 2 hectares might sound like a lot to a city dweller, but in farming terms, it's tiny.
It's not enough to generate a real surplus.
Exactly. The text explicitly says that cultivation of such small plots doesn't generate adequate income. These farmers are working hard, but they are barely scraping by.
And then the top of the pyramid.
The 60 families, the medium and large farmers who cultivate more than 2 hectares. A few of them have over 10 hectares.
This inequality dictates the labor dynamics.
Completely. The small farmers, that middle group, they cultivate their own land with their families. They provide their own labor. They don't hire anyone. They can't afford to.
But the medium and large farmers?
They hire farm laborers.
Let's focus on the laborer's plight. The text mentions that farm laborers do not have a right to the crops grown, they just get wages.
This is a crucial legal distinction. If you are a tenant farmer or a sharecropper, you might get a percentage of the wheat. But a wage laborer, you get cash, or maybe a meal, and those wages vary widely.
The government might set a minimum wage. The text mentions Rs 300 per day as a benchmark from 2017. But in Palampur, laborers are getting paid Rs 160.
That is almost half the legal minimum wage.
How is that even possible?
It's shocking, isn't it? But we have to look at why. Is it just because the landlords are evil? Maybe. But economically, it's about supply and demand.
There are too many laborers.
Exactly. There is heavy competition for work among the landless laborers. They know that if they demand 300 rupees, the landlord will just hire the next guy who is willing to work for 200. And if that guy refuses, there's someone desperate enough to work for 160.
They undercut each other just to survive.
I'll do it for less because I need to eat today. It's a race to the bottom. It is. And this creates a massive divergence in capital accumulation.
Tell me more.
The large farmers have a surplus, they sell it, they bank the money, they have savings, and they use those savings to buy more capital tractors, threshers for the next season,
Right.
or they lend it out. Their money works for them.
While the small farmers and landless laborers,
They have zero savings. To arrange capital for farming, to buy those expensive seeds and fertilizers we talked about, they have to borrow.
and because they have no collateral, banks won't touch them.
Right. So who do they borrow from?
The large farmers or village moneylenders.
The very people they work for. And the terms are brutal. High interest rates, 24% for 4 months is mentioned in the text. Sometimes a promise to work on the lender's farm during harvest time for free or cheap.
It's a distress situation. The text describes it as a debt trap. They borrow to work, but the profit isn't enough to pay back the loan and feed the family, so they borrow again. It's cyclical poverty.
This tension between the landowner and the cultivator is historic. We see a direct link to a UPSC PYQ here regarding the Tebhaga peasant movement. This is from the 13CSP1.pdf source, question 20.
Let's bring that up. It connects history to economics. The question asks what the demand of the Tebhaga movement was in 1946.
And the answer is A, the reduction of the share of the landlords from 1/2 of the crop to 1/3.
So historically, peasants were fighting to keep more of what they produced.
Exactly. Tebhaga literally means 3 parts. They wanted 2/3 for themselves and only 1/3 for the landlord.
And in modern Palampur.
In Palampur, the farm laborers get no share of the crop, only a depressed wage. The Tebhaga movement was a historical reaction to similar agrarian inequality. It highlights that the tension we see in Palampur between those who own the land and those who work it is a central theme of Indian history. It's not just an economic stat, it's a source of social conflict.
That is a powerful connection. So we have a situation where farming is maxed, outland is fixed, water is depleting, and the labor market is saturated. If you are a young person in Palampur and you don't own land, farming is a dead end. Where does the future lie?
It lies in the non-farm sector. This is the escape hatch.
Section 5. The text says only 25% of people working in Palampur are engaged in activities other than agriculture.
That number, 25%, is the metric of development. In a developed economy, that number would be, 90%, 95%? In Palampur, it's just starting.
So we need to analyze these activities.
Absolutely. They represent the diversification of the rural economy.
First up is dairy. It's the most common alternative.
It makes sense. Farmers already have the buffaloes. They feed them the jowar and bajra grown during the Kharif season. The milk is sold to Raiganj. But here is the business part that is crucial.
What's that?
2 traders from Shahpur have set up a collection-cum-chilling center at Raiganj.
Why is a chilling center so important?
Milk is perishable. Without a chilling center, you have to sell the milk immediately, locally, for whatever price you can get. With the chilling center, the milk can be stored and transported to faraway cities. It links the village buffalo to the city consumer.
It creates a supply chain.
It creates a supply chain. It turns a backyard activity into a commercial enterprise.
Value chain integration. Got it. Second activity, small-scale manufacturing.
Now, when we say manufacturing, don't imagine a factory with smokestacks and hundreds of workers.
This is an industrial park.
No. In Palampur, manufacturing happens in homes or fields. It's very small scale. We have the case study of Mishrilal. I like Mishrilal. He seems like a hustler.
He is. Mishrilal is the prototype of the rural entrepreneur. He used to crush sugarcane using bullocks. That's the traditional, way labor-intensive, slow, low output.
That he decided to upgrade.
He bought a mechanical sugarcane crushing machine that runs on electricity.
There's that fixed capital and electricity again. He invested in machinery. Now he buys sugarcane from other farmers, processes it into jaggery or gur, and sells it to traders in Shahpur.
He makes a small profit. But the key is, he moved up the technology ladder.
He shifted from animal power to electric power. And he shifted from just selling raw cane to selling a processed product, jaggery. He added value. And value addition is the secret to increasing rural income.
Right. Selling raw material pays less than selling a finished product.
Always.
Then we have shopkeeping.
The traders, they are the intermediaries. They buy goods from wholesale markets in the cities, rice, wheat, soap, batteries, notebooks, toothpaste, and sell them in the village. It's the general store model.
It is. And notice the location strategy mentioned in the text. Families whose houses are near the bus stand have used a part of the space to open small shops. They sell eatables.
They are leveraging footfall. It's basic business logic taking root in the village.
And finally, transport. This sector is described as fast developing.
Rickshaws, tongas, jeeps, tractors, trucks, they ferry people and goods. As the trade between Palampur and Reganj grows, the demand for transport grows.
The case study here is Kishora. This one is really interesting because it involves the banking system.
Yes, Kishora is a farm laborer. He is in that bottom 150 families. He has no land. Normally, he would be stuck in the wage trap we discussed.
But he took a loan from the bank.
A government program for cheap loans to landless households. This is the critical intervention. He didn't go to the moneylender who would charge him 24% interest. He went to the bank. With that cheap credit, he bought a buffalo.
Okay, so he sells milk.
Yes, but he went a step further. He attached a wooden cart to the buffalo. Now he has a transport vehicle.
Oh, that's clever.
He uses it to transport items, sometimes clay for the potter, sometimes jaggery to shapur for Mishralal.
So he has turned one asset into multiple income streams.
Exactly. Milk plus transport. And unlike the standard farm laborer who only has work during harvest, Kishora earns from milk and transport year-round. He has diversified his risk. If the crops fail, he can still haul bricks. This is the power of credit when applied correctly to create assets.
So let's zoom out. What does all this mean? We've looked at the land, the crops, the inequality, the green revolution, and these small sparks of entrepreneurship.
Palampur teaches us that production is a complex dance. You need land, labor, physical capital, and human capital. But the distribution of these ingredients determines the outcome.
We saw that farming is limited by the physical size of the village. You can't invent more land.
So the future of rural India lies in two things. First, increasing yield efficiency, but doing it sustainably, watching that water table so we don't turn the village into a desert.
And second?
Second, expanding the non-farm sector. We need more Mishrals and Kishoras. We need to move people off the farm and into manufacturing and services.
But the central tension remains the divide between the haves, the 80 families with the brick houses and tractors, and the have-nots, the 150 families in the mud huts.
That brings us to a provocative thought to end this deep dive. We saw that large farmers use their savings to buy tractors and trucks. Their money makes more money. It's the logic of compound interest applied to assets.
While small farmers borrow just to survive.
Often falling into a debt trap. So here is the question for you to mull over, and it's a question that haunts every finance minister.
What is it?
If the non-farm sector stops, transport, dairy requires capital to start, you need money to buy the buffalo or the crushing machine, and the poor have no capital and no savings. How can the 75% dependency on farming ever be reduced without massive government intervention in credit availability?
Can the market alone ever solve the poverty of Palampur? Or will the gap just keep widening?
The market rewards those who have assets. It punishes those who don't. Without intervention like Kishora's bank loan, the structural inequality of Palampur is likely to persist. That is the challenge of development economics.
That is a heavy but necessary thought to end on. That brings us to the end of our journey through Palampur. I hope this visualization helped you understand the dry economic concepts a bit better.
If this helped clarify the basics of economics for your UPSC prep, please subscribe to Simplified UPSC by PPP. And hit that like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that this is good stuff and it helps others find us.
If you can, support us on Patreon. It keeps the lights on, the mics recording, and the content flowing. We really rely on our community. A huge thank you to everyone who is already supporting us.
Head over to our public Telegram channel for the free notes and those PYQs we discussed today. Don't just listen, go solve them. Active recall is the only way to learn.
And for the serious candidates, DM us to join the private library for the organized premium experience with Model Main's answers.
Keep learning, keep questioning assumptions.
We'll see you in the next deep dive.